Let's talk about legal separation and your green card. As you know, these are difficult times. People are separated physically from their spouses, consulates are closed, and people are essentially not seeing each other for months and months. And that's causing strain in a relationship. And unfortunately, there are cases where couples end up separating, especially when they go through the green card process. What is the impact of separation, not divorce, on your actual green card? This is a major problem, and I'm getting a lot of questions on this. What will happen if I separate from my spouse? What will happen if we're not going to end up the process before the interview? In this video, we'll talk about the impact of legal separation on your green card, whether you are before the interview, after you received it, and we'll talk about different scenarios. So, what are you waiting for? I'll see you on the other side. Whether you like it or not, being in a relationship is not easy. And sometimes couples separate. It could be a problem if you're going through the immigration process, whether you're going to get your green card overseas or you're applying for a green card inside the United States. In this video, we'll talk a little bit about the implications of legal separation before divorce on your green card process. Welcome to our immigration channel. My name is Jacob Sapochnik, and I'm an immigration attorney located in San Diego, California. And I do videos every single week. We cover so many different topics based on your suggestions and based on current events. And we're here to support and educate you on the most important topics in U.S. immigration law. So let's talk about legal separation and immigration. So typically when we go through the immigration process, we have to convince either the U.S. consular officer or the U.S. immigration officer that your marriage is bona fide, that it's a real marriage, that you're really a couple, you live together, you live your life as a couple. Unfortunately, sometimes things happen and people get separated. I can tell you that right now, especially with consular processing, where people are in one country and they're stuck overseas, they're not able to come here, I've seen a lot of issues where people are just it put too much strain on the relationship, and some people essentially file for what is called a legal separation, which is a step before divorce. So it's not the fact that they are not living together in the same household, because obviously if you're in two different countries, you're naturally not in the same place, but it's the fact that there is an intention not to finish that process, not to be in a relationship anymore, and sometimes filing a legal separation is the first step towards that. So we'll talk in this video, I'm going to talk about what is the impact of legal separation when you are first before your visa interview, so you didn't go through your visa interview yet. What's going to happen in that process, whether you're at the U.S. Embassy or at the USCIS here. Number two is the impact of legal separation after you receive a conditional green card. So you're basically on your 2-year green card and you need to remove the conditions at some point, and then there's a legal separation at that point. And finally, what if there's a legal separation after you remove the conditions, and what are the implications on your legal status or your future immigration status at that point? I think those are the 3 points that people are mostly concerned about, and I'll cover all these in this video, and I'll give you a few little tips if you stick to the end. So let's talk about the first scenario. So you are about to go for your visa interview, for your green card interview at the U.S. consulate first. So your spouse is in the U.S., you are overseas, it's been months you haven't seen your spouse, and there's problems with the relationship, and there's a legal separation that has been filed. If you attend a visa interview, the officer, their intention is first of all to check that it's a bona fide marriage. So you have all the documents, you have all the proof that you are communicating, that you have maybe some assets together. But the fact that the legal separation is filed, a consular officer will determine whether it is something that will end the marriage, or this is something that happened temporarily and you still have an opportunity to reconcile. Remember, the legal separation itself does not end the marriage. It's just the beginning to show that there's a problem, or maybe the couple is working on it. So if it's a consular case and the consular is aware of the legal separation, they have a discretion to decide and say, well, are you guys going to work on your marriage? It depends on what the intention of the parties is. And we had a case recently where the officer was appreciative that the person told them about what happened, and he said, you know what, I appreciate your honesty. I do see that you guys are a good couple. If you're telling me that you're going to try to work on that, I will issue the case. And again, it's only going to be a conditional green card, and the officer was willing to approve it because they had enough evidence to show that it's a real bona fide marriage and they do have an intention to work on the relationship. Now, with another case where the legal separation was filed in the US, it was an adjustment case, and at that point, the immigration officer wasn't convinced that, and again, based on the state of mind of the parties, he didn't feel that they are actually going to make it. So there was a lot of animosity. There was, the U.S. citizen spouse didn't want to even show up to the interview the first time. And so the legal separation, according to the officer, was really the beginning of the end, and he didn't see any way where how this couple is going to survive this crisis, and so he wasn't able to approve the case because he didn't believe that they were actually going to be married. In fact, they have not been living together for at least 5 months before the interview. So there are different factors. It wasn't just the fact that legal separation was filed, but the point is that the legal separation was just a trigger for the officer to basically question this entire relationship, and as a result, this case wasn't approved. Now remember, it also depends on different states. In some states, legal separation is an indication of the termination of marriage, and so in those states, a legal separation is like a divorce. But in many states, like in California, for example, legal separation is just legal separation. It doesn't mean that the marriage ended. But for immigration purposes, they're looking at what is the intention of the couple, of the parties. Is it to be together? Is it a temporary issue? So, but again, of course, it's definitely going to be a hiccup in a case, especially before an approval. So if there is a legal separation, the couples are physically separated as well, the chances of being approved are not that good. And again, it's really important to be prepared to face the immigration and be able to explain to them what are the intentions of the parties. If the intention is to be together, then maybe there's a way to save it. Now let's look at a scenario where a person has their 2-year green card, conditional green card, whether it's from a consulate or from an adjustment of status inside the US, but then there's a legal separation. Well, remember that when you have a conditional green card, you have to file for removal condition 90 days before the expiration of that card. If you are legally separated at that point, which means that you filed a document with the court, but you're not yet divorced, then you have to think about it, because if you filed it jointly, if you file the case jointly, but you're not going to be together, your intention is not to be together, then ideally it's probably better to get divorced, because if you get divorced, then it's probably much easier to apply for a waiver, a good faith waiver, based on the fact that you were together, but it just didn't work out. And if you're divorced, then you're able to actually get the waiver filed and eventually get your green card, as long as you can prove that your marriage was bona fide. The fact that you have legal separation, if you file jointly and you go to the interview, the officer may actually question the relationship and say, well, if you're intending to separate, why did you file jointly? They may actually have more questions and may scrutinize your case even more. So if you file the legal separation and you're actually intending not to be together, then it's probably better to just get divorced, and then the immigrant is going to be able to file for a waiver and save their case this way. So it's not that bad. Let's look at the final scenario. You have your 10-year green card and then you file for legal separation. At that point, it doesn't really matter, because if the only thing that will change here is that if you want to apply for citizenship based on 3 years because you're married to a U.S. citizen, you're not going to be able to do so, because if you file for legal separation, most likely one of you moved out, and at that point, you're not going to satisfy the requirements of the 3 years to get your citizenship. You have to wait 5 years, and then you're going to be able to apply for citizenship, which is fine, but the actual green card is not going to be at jeopardy just because you are legally separated. So these are the things that are important to know. Again, unfortunately right now, there's a lot of problems in relationships, and whether it's because of the delays and many other things. So it's important to know what are your rights and how to handle the situation if you're going to be in that position where you're getting divorced or legally separated at that point. Once again, if you're here for the first time, make sure to subscribe to our channel, click our bell to be notified for any new videos that come out every week, and also give us a big like so YouTube will be able to share this video with more people just like you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in our next video. Watch these 2 videos for more information just like that.